In the last episode, we looked at how Metallica completely rethought their songwriting for the Black Album. Speed gave way to groove, complexity gave way to restraint. Songs were designed to hit harder, not just impress musicians. This video is episode 4 of a 10-part series examining Metallica, better known as the Black Album. Each episode focuses on a different piece of the story: context, production, songwriting, individual tracks, backlash, and legacy. To our series on Metallica's Black Album. Today, we're diving into something really cool, the actual sound of the record. We're talking about guitar tones, drum sounds, all the production choices that made it sound so powerful. If you've ever wondered why this album sounds so huge and heavy, you're about to find out. Let's start with a question. What makes an album sound different from every other album? Something called sonic identity. That's basically the unique sound fingerprint that makes you go, oh, that's definitely Metallica's Black Album. Before the Black Album, Metallica had a really raw, aggressive sound. Their guitars were sharp and cutting. Everything was fast and intense. But in 1991, they completely changed their approach. They wanted the album to sound massive, like a wall of pure power hitting you in the chest. Producer Bob Rock worked with the band to create this new sound. They spent months just working on getting the right tones before they even recorded a single song. That is dedication, of course. Most bands would just plug in and start playing, but Metallica knew the sound itself was just as important as the songs. The result was an album that sounded thick, heavy, and incredibly clear, all at the same time. Every instrument has its own space. Nothing gets lost in the mix. When you listen to Enter Sandman or Sad But True, you can hear every single element perfectly. It's not an accident, it's careful planning and brilliant production work. Now let's talk guitars. James Hetfield's guitar tone on the album is legendary, one of the most copied guitar sounds in rock history, and for good reason. It's heavy, but it's also clear, and even when he's playing really heavy riffs. How'd they get the sound? Layering. Lots and lots of layering. For most songs, James recorded his rhythm guitar multiple times. Sometimes he recorded the same part 4, 5, 6 times. Then stacked all those recordings on top of each other. Think of it like a painting. If you put one coat of paint on a wall, you might see through it, but you put multiple coats like this, it becomes rich and solid. That's what guitar layering does. It makes it sound thicker and more powerful. But here's the clever part. Each of those guitar tracks were recorded slightly differently. Maybe one used a different amplifier, maybe one had a slightly different tone setting. When you combine all this you get this huge three-dimensional guitar sound that feels like it's surrounding you. Kirk Hammett's lead guitar work also shines on the album. His solos cut through the heavy rhythm guitars perfectly. They use different guitar tones for the solos, making them brighter and more focused. So when Kirk starts playing a solo, it jumps out at you. It doesn't get buried under all those rhythm guitar layers. The song The Unforgiven is a perfect example. Listen to how the clean guitars sound in the verses and notice how the distorted guitars come in during the chorus. Each section has its own guitar personality. That's intentional production work, making the song more dynamic and interesting. Let's move on to the drums. Lars Ulrich's drum sound on the Black Album is totally different from the earlier Metallica records. On albums like Master of Puppets, his drums sounded tight and dry. But on the Black Album, everything changed. Bob Rock wanted drums to sound huge. He wanted them to sound like they were recorded in a giant room. So he used a lot of room microphones. These microphones were placed far away from the drums to capture that natural echo and space of the recording room. The result, Lars' drums sound massive. Snare drum has this big, powerful crack that hits you right in the chest. Bass drums are deep and punchy. Cymbals shimmer and ring out. Everything has weight and power behind it. But it's not just the sound, it's all about how Lars plays on the album. He simplified his drumming a lot compared to older Metallica songs. Instead of playing super fast and complicated patterns, he focused on groove. He locked in with the guitars and bass to create this heavy, headbanging feel. Take the song Sad But True, for example. Drum pattern is actually pretty simple, not showing up with crazy fills or lightning fast playing, but it feels absolutely crushing. That groove-based drumming, it's about making people want to move, just impressing them with technical skill. Lars also used dynamics really well on the album. Dynamics means the difference between the loud and quiet parts, if you didn't know. Some sections hit hard, while others pull back. This makes the heavy parts feel even heavier because you got that contrast. Quiet moment before the explosion makes the explosion feel bigger. Here's something that longtime Metallica fans really notice. You can actually hear the bass on the Black Album. That might sound weird, but there's a reason people talk about it because on Metallica's previous album and just overall, the bass guitar was almost invisible. Jason Newsted played bass in the record, but you can barely hear him in the final mix. Fans and critics complained about this for years. Some people thought it was intentional, maybe because Jason was the new guy in the band. Whatever the reason, the bass just wasn't there. The Black Album fixed this completely. Jason's bass is loud and present throughout the entire record. You can feel it adding weight to every song. It's not just James Hetfield's guitar making things heavy anymore. Now there is this thick bass foundation holding everything up. Listen to My Friend of Misery. That song actually starts with just bass guitar. Jason gets to show what he can do, and his playing is right up front in the mix. Throughout the album, his bass follows the guitar riffs, making them sound twice as heavy. Brock understood something important. Bass isn't just there to fill space, it's there to make everything else feel more powerful. When the bass guitars and drums all lock together perfectly, that's when you get that chest thumping heaviness that metal fans love. The bass tone itself is also worth mentioning. It's got the nice mid-range growl that lets it cut through the mix without fighting with the guitars. Jason was using his fingers to play, not a pick, which gave his bass a warmer, rounder sound. Combined with the right amplifier settings and Bob Rock's production, his bass became a crucial part of the Black Album sounds. So here's the big question. Why does the Black Album sound amazing more than 30 years later? Lots of albums sound dated after a few years, production style change, and technology improves. The old records start to sound their age, but not the Black Album. First, they didn't chase trends. In 1991, lots of bands were using certain keyboard sounds or production effects that were popular at the time. Those things sound really dated now, but Metallica kept it simple. Guitars, bass, drums, vocals, no gimmicks, classic rock instruments recorded in a timeless way. Second, they focused on getting great performances instead of fixing everything with studio tricks. Sure, they used technology to enhance sound, but the foundation was always real musicians playing their instruments really well. You can't fake that kind of energy and power. Third, the mixing is incredibly balanced. Every instrument has its place. Nothing is too loud or quiet. Guitars don't overpower the drums. Vocals sit perfectly on top without drowning out the instruments. This kind of balance never goes out of style. And fourth, production is clear without being too clean. Some modern albums are so perfectly produced that they sound almost fake, like computers made them instead of people. The Black Album sounds polished, but it still has that human feel. You can hear the power of the amplifiers, the air moving in the room, the energy of the performance. Bob Rock's production philosophy was all about capturing the feeling of the band. He wanted you to feel like you were in the room with Metallica, experiencing the power firsthand. That's why the album still sounds alive and exciting today. The sound of the Black Album didn't happen by accident. It was the result of careful planning, countless hours of experimentation, and a clear vision of what Metallica wanted to achieve. From James Hetfield's layer guitar to Lars Ulrich's groove-focused drumming to Jason Newsted's finally audible bass, every element was created to create maximum impact. The album taught a whole generation of musicians and producers about the importance of sonic identity. It showed that the sound of a record is just as important as the songs themselves. Thousands of bands have tried to copy the sound's production, but nobody has quite captured that same magic. Whether you're a musician trying to understand production or just a fan who loves great sounding music, the Black Album is a masterclass in how to make rock music sound powerful and timeless. That's why we're still talking about today and why it still sounds absolutely massive when you crank it up loud. With the sound locked in, Metallica, we're ready to unleash the songs themselves. In the next episode, we begin a track-by-track breakdown, starting with the opening stretch of the album from Enter Sandman through The Unforgiven, because understanding the Black Album means understanding how each song works and why the album hits as hard as it does from the very first note. If you want to follow the story from begin to end, make sure you check out this playlist right here. The playlist will include every episode in the Black Album series. I add new chapters as they are released, or basically as I make them. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, ranking them more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.